So today's conversation is all about resilience in relationships. And it ties in very nicely because, of course, today is Valentine's Day, which is a day that can be really quite challenging for a number of people for a number of reasons. So that's why I thought I'd unpack this whole idea of resilience when it comes to our idea of what a relationship should be, or even what it should be, what it shouldn't be. There's a reason for that. Yes, when you listen to the radio and you look on Instagram and you see all the lovely, glorious messages that people are sending to each other, it's a lovely thing. It's why not celebrate love, and why not celebrate the whole idea of publicly showing just how much you care for the person who you have decided means more to you than any other human being on the planet, at least when it comes to that kind of love. But obviously there are so many other ways that we can champion our ideas of love and relationships and everything else. I also understand that Valentine's Day can be really challenging if you're not in a relationship, or if you're in a relationship that isn't working in a way that is either satisfying to you, or it could even be something that is causing you distress of any kind of level. So seeing this kind of outpouring of love can be really quite demoralizing, to put it lightly. Now, I'm in my 50s, and I can remember way back when the whole idea of Valentine's Day, when it was at school, and were you going to get a card handed to you or put through your letterbox? Were you going to get a secret admirer message from someone that you hoped it would be from, and someone that you maybe hope they don't send you a card? All the kind of drama that was sort of around that. There was such an innocence about that, because there was a bravery about, and I don't even know if kids still do this anymore, but there was a bravery about secretly buying a card for someone that maybe you've admired from afar, and getting it to them in a way that they couldn't figure out that it was necessarily from you, and hoping that maybe they would and it would go down well. And that innocence fades away as we get older, because we have so much more of a structured idea, mainly farmed into our psyche through advertisers and marketeers and people who are really trying to sell us this commercialized idea of what love should be, rather than us focusing on what love is, which is, it's an emotion, it's a feeling, it's something that bubbles up inside of us and makes us feel warm and happy and special. There is nothing more beautiful than to love and be loved in return, and to know that you are special in someone's eyes. So where does resilience come into all of this? Well, if you haven't found the one, if you haven't found your person, there's a certain amount of resilience that I suppose you feel that you need, that you can keep trying until you find them. Now, I was having this conversation yesterday with a really beautiful, glorious young woman who was feeling a bit sad that she hasn't yet found her one. Now, she's only in her sort of late 20s, early 30s, and it struck me that that was me back then. Even though, I had been in a really long-term relationship by that stage, it was kind of bumpy, and we kept breaking up and getting back together and all this kind of thing. And all I really yearned for was this idea of finding the one. And now in my 50s, I look back on that with so much sympathy and empathy, because I've realized that actually it's highly unlikely that you find the one when you are, maybe in your teens or your 20s, that is the person that you're going to live with for the rest of your natural life. If you are, then that is absolutely glorious and is wonderful. It's a great thing. And of course it happens. Of course it does. I know many people for whom that has happened to, and they are still in a beautiful, loving relationship many, many years on. But in the conversation that I had with this lovely lady, um, one bit of advice that I passed on to her, and I thought I'd, pass on to you, is that when we set ourselves up with this idea that we need to be resilient in love until we find the one and then everything will be okay, we're kind of setting ourselves up to fail, because our the one could be the one for right now. It could be one for the next few months or few years. We don't know how long someone is meant to come into our life for, and what lessons we're meant to learn from them. What even if it is through painful experiences, what lessons we are meant to learn from them. And I think if we pin all our hopes on this idea that there is there is one person for us for forever and ever and for the rest of our lives, and if we're with someone at the moment, it doesn't feel like they fit all of those boxes and they're clearly not the person, but maybe they are. Maybe they're just your person for right now. And maybe you are that person for them for right now. And that's all okay. Sometimes being resilient when it comes to the idea of love isn't about hanging in there and staying strong until you find someone who completes you. It's actually about being resilient in yourself and realizing that you are already a full circle. You don't need another half of it to completely complete you. When you find a beautiful relationship, to me, it involves, and if you think about it, take my wedding ring off here. A wedding ring, it symbols eternity, because obviously it goes round and round and it never ends. But I like to think of it as actually, do you imagine two circles coming together? I'll put it here so you can see it. Two circles coming together. It's whole. The other one is whole. It's like a Venn diagram. The bit that overlaps and the piece that is just in the middle, that's the part that's both of you. But you bring both of it together. So being resilient in order to hang in there and wait until you find someone who completes your circle, I'd urge you to use that resilience to find yourself, and then to form a Venn diagram with someone else. And the joint bit is that's the strength, that's the joy, that's the beauty, that's the shiny golden hope that we all hang in for. When it comes to resilience that is inside of relationships, again, in this conversation that I had the other day, we were talking about, how do you know when to be resilient when the going gets tough within a relationship? Is it just a bumpy moment and really you just need to, find the strength to hang in there because you will ride it out? Or are you being resilient in the wrong way? And actually, the best thing that you can do may be the thing that you see as the weakest thing, and it's to leave. This isn't an answer that someone can give you just like that. It isn't an answer that you can just Google, when do I leave? Because there are so many nuances to this. Because, it could just be a horrific bumpy patch that you are going through, and every one of your friends is saying, this is terrible, you need to leave. But actually, deep down that this is just a moment, and being resilient and riding it through could reap some really beautiful rewards on the other side of it. However, on the other hand, your friends could be totally right. It could be that this relationship is absolutely not right for you. It's harmful to you. It's causing you emotional distress and upset in the long term, not just over this bumpy moment. And actually, things are not going to change. This is my husband. This is the person who knows that I'm doing this right now. See, Nick Feeney, 100 Club. I'm going to answer it. I'm just recording something right now. I'll be down in a second. All right then. Bye. And that's a real relationship. Even when you tell someone that you are busy doing something and they just forget because they decide they want to ring you. Being resilient in a relationship when it's going through a bumpy patch, and knowing whether to hang in there, be tough, or do what you may see as the weaker thing and to leave, is something that really you're the only person who can answer that. Speaking from experience and horrible, painful experience, I was told many times in my past that the relationship that I was in was damaging, that it was wrong, it was potentially harmful, and I didn't listen to any of it, because I thought that true love meant you rode out the tough times, and if you love someone enough, you could show them the way, you could help them see that their behavior is harmful, shall we say. Maybe they just didn't know any better, but through love and support and encouragement, you could show them that. That's what I thought. So I didn't listen. It was only when I listened to me, not to any outside sources, that I realized that actually the strongest thing that I could do was to leave. It wasn't the weakest thing that I could do. It was the strongest thing that I could do to leave. And that was when I really had to call on my own resilience to prepare me and get me through that time. Because actually I didn't tell anybody about what I was experiencing at home. I didn't tell them that I was making plans to change my circumstances, because there was shame involved. There was a sense of failure involved. There were so many complicated emotions going on in there, but I still knew it was the right thing to do. So the resilience that I needed to call upon was something that was really deep-seated within me. I'd already been resilient in the relationship in terms of trying to make it work in the best way that it could, because I knew no relationship could be perfect. There's no such thing. But then it came to a moment where I'd realized that resilience actually, in the context of this relationship, meant I needed to find the strength to go. Why I wanted to share this with you on Valentine's Day, it might seem like a strange thing to share because it's not very romantic and not very loving. Actually, the biggest act of love that you can show on a day that is all about celebrating love is to yourself. Because actually, it's only when you find true love for you that you can share it with anybody else. As RuPaul says, if you can't love yourself, how in the hell are you going to love anybody else? And no truer word has been spoken. If you're struggling today on Valentine's Day, for whatever reason, whether you are in a relationship or not in a relationship, as Miley says, you can buy yourself flowers. You can hold your own hand. I'd urge you to do that today. Whether it's, you've already got another hand to hold your own, because there is no greater love than loving yourself. It's like breathing. It will always be there. You're not having to rely on anybody else. And then the rewards that you reap when you are already a full circle and you decide, you make the decision to, not because you need to, but because you want to, when you decide to combine that, your lovely full circle, with someone else, it is the most beautiful thing. So love yourself today on Valentine's Day. That's my tip to you. Have a great day. I hope you've enjoyed today's conversation. Remember to like and subscribe to this channel so you never miss a single one. And if you want to join in the conversation, head over to Facebook to Andrea McLean, This Girl is on a Fire private Facebook group, and I'll see you there.